To truly understand how much Göbekli Tepe breaks our understanding of human history, we have to look at the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid is ancient. It was built around 2500 BC by a highly advanced Egyptian civilization. The Egyptians had complex mathematics, a written language, a powerful government, and a massive agricultural economy to feed thousands of workers. But now, imagine going back in time to the exact day the Egyptians laid the very first stone of the Great Pyramid. If you stood there and looked backward into history from that moment, Göbekli Tepe was already older to those ancient Egyptians than the pyramids are to us today. Located in southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe was built roughly 12,000 years ago, around 9500 BC. It predates the pyramids of Egypt by 7,000 years. It predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. When Göbekli Tepe was actively being used as a sacred ritual site, writing did not exist. The wheel had not been invented. There was no bronze, no iron, and not a single farm on Earth. This single fact creates an impossible paradox that modern historians are still desperately trying to explain. The story of how we found this impossible site is a tale of a major historic mistake. In the 1960s, anthropologists from the University of Chicago and Istanbul University visited a hill called Potbelly Hill, known locally as Göbekli Tepe. They noticed some limestone fragments breaking through the surface. However, because their understanding of history was limited, they dismissed the site as nothing more than a boring medieval cemetery. The true history of humanity remained buried for another 3 decades. Everything changed in 1994. A brilliant German archaeologist named Dr. Klaus Schmidt was reviewing old research files when he decided to visit the hill himself. The moment he stood on top of Göbekli Tepe, he knew the previous researchers had made a monumental mistake. He recognized that the limestone slabs were not medieval gravestones. They were the tops of giant prehistoric monoliths. In 1995, Dr. Schmidt partnered with the Sandlerfa Museum and began the official excavations. What they uncovered just a few feet beneath the soil shocked the global scientific community. They found a massive network of giant stone circles, hidden safely inside the earth for thousands of years. Before this discovery, the global historical consensus was simple. Humans lived in small, nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers until they invented farming. Farming allowed people to settle down, settlements led to cities, cities led to complex labor division, and only then did humans have the organization required to build grand temples. This was called the Neolithic Revolution. But Göbekli Tepe completely turned this theory upside down. The people who carved these giant T-shaped pillars lived in a world before agriculture. Yet the engineering skills required to build this site were staggering. These pillars were carved out of solid limestone quarries located hundreds of meters away. Some pillars stand over 18 feet tall and weigh more than 20 tons. To cut, move, and erect just one of these monoliths would require the coordinated physical labor of at least 500 people. But how do you feed 500 workers in a world with no farms? How do you maintain social order without a government or a king? The logistics alone suggest that hunter-gatherers were far more organized, intelligent, and socially complex than our textbooks ever admitted. So why did they build it? Extensive excavations have revealed absolutely no traces of domestic life at Göbekli Tepe. There are no hearths for cooking, no water systems, and no residential buildings. Instead, the site is filled with thousands of wild animal bones, mostly gazelles and wild cattle. This proves that the people who gathered here were eating wild game brought from miles away. This was not a village or a town. It was the world's first true mega sanctuary. Dr. Klaus Schmidt famously proposed a revolutionary theory. First came the temple, then the city. He argued that it was not agriculture that brought humans together. Rather, it was a massive, shared spiritual belief that forced nomadic tribes to cooperate. To feed the massive crowds of workers building this monument, nature's wild resources were no longer enough. They had to find a reliable, predictable source of food right around the temple. And right on cue, genetic testing has revealed that the very first strains of domestic einkorn wheat evolved just 20 miles away from Göbekli Tepe. The desire to worship created the necessity for farming. Religion did not follow civilization. Religion gave birth to it. Protecting a 12,000-year-old wonder is a major international operation. Today, the project is a vital joint scientific venture between the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism and the German Archaeological Institute. In 2018, Göbekli Tepe reached a major historical milestone when it was officially inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, opening the doors for global preservation support. However, transforming this remote excavation hill into a world-class tourism center required massive private capital. A major Turkish conglomerate, the Dogus Group, stepped in as the primary long-term corporate sponsor. Investing over $15 million, they funded the construction of the iconic, state-of-the-art protective canopy roofs that shield the ancient stones from the harsh weather. They also built the modern visitor centers that welcome thousands of global travelers every day. Yet, despite all the funding and research, the final chapter of Göbekli Tepe contains its deepest mystery. Around 8000 BC, after using the sanctuary for 1500 years, the people did something inexplicable. They did not abandon it to be destroyed by time. Instead, they carefully and systematically filled the stone circles with thousands of tons of dirt, completely burying their own masterpiece under a man-made hill. They sealed it like a time capsule. Why they hid it remains a profound mystery. With less than 10% of the site excavated to date, the greatest secrets of our past still lie buried underground, waiting to be discovered. What do you think is hidden within the remaining 90% of the hill? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this journey into our forgotten history, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We are Fracture Theory. Thanks for watching.